Okay, let's be honest. The US housing market right now, it is a complete puzzle. One minute you hear about a major slowdown, and the next you're seeing signs of a spring rebound. It's confusing, right? But if you really want to understand what's going on, well, it all starts with one incredible number. Yup, 40,000. That's the number of home purchase agreements that got canceled in December alone. Just think about that for a second. Tens of thousands of deals falling apart right at the finish line. Now, this isn't just your typical seasonal slump. We're talking about a record-breaking case of cold feet. And that leaves us with a really fascinating mystery. Why are thousands and thousands of buyers getting to the very end of a deal, only to turn around and walk away? Well, in this explainer, we're going to put on our detective hats and see if we can crack this case. So first up, let's unpack just how significant this wave of cancellations really is. The numbers, well, they tell a pretty dramatic story. So that 40,000 number we just saw, that translates to 16.3% of all homes that went under contract in December. And get this, that is the highest share of cancellations for that month since Redfin started tracking this data way back in 2017. This tells us it's not just a holiday slowdown. Something fundamentally different is happening in the market. So you've got to ask, what's driving all this? Is it just economic jitters? Sticker shock from crazy high prices? I mean, what is making so many people hesitate at the very last second? The answer, it turns out, points to a massive shift in power. And that brings us right to the heart of it, the core reason behind all these canceled deals. For the first time in what feels like forever, buyers are finding themselves in the driver's seat. You know, this quote from Redfin's Chen Zhao really just nails it. She points out that home sellers are now outnumbering buyers by a record margin. It's such a simple but powerful idea. When there are more homes for sale than people looking to buy, the whole game changes. All that leverage, it shifts right over to the buyer. It's just classic supply and demand, right? All of a sudden, with more houses to choose from, buyers aren't feeling that frantic pressure to pounce on the very first property they see. They can afford to take their time. They can negotiate. And if a deal isn't absolutely perfect, they can just walk away. And the data backs this theory up in a huge way. I mean, just look at these hotspots for canceled deals: Atlanta, Jacksonville, San Antonio. So what's the common thread? In each one of these markets, sellers outnumbered buyers by a staggering 80% or more. The connection is crystal clear. More homes on the market means more buyers are willing to walk. So how are buyers actually doing this? Well, sure, high housing costs are definitely causing some second thoughts, but the main tool they're using is something called the inspection contingency. It's a clause in the contract that lets them back out if the inspection turns up any problems. So even a tiny issue can become the perfect get-out-of-jail-free card, especially if they think there's a better, maybe cheaper, house right around the corner. Okay, so the story seems simple. The market's cooling down and buyers are finally in charge. But hold on, because there's a twist. Just as buyers are starting to flex their new muscles, a whole new group of players is jumping back into the game: the sellers. And this change has been rapid. I mean, just last fall, sellers were pulling their homes off the market left and right, hoping to wait for better conditions. But now, it seems like their patience is wearing thin, and they are jumping back in. And we're not just talking about a handful of listings here. According to Mike Simonson over at Compass, we're talking about 80,000 homes that were previously pulled off the market and are now suddenly back on. That is a massive injection of new inventory into the system.
And just to put that into perspective for you, these relisted homes now make up 11% of all active single-family inventory. That's a noticeable jump from just 9% a year ago. These returning sellers are absolutely making their presence felt.
So here's the big setup for the spring market, right? You've got these newly empowered buyers who are more than happy to walk away from a deal, and they're about to collide with a huge wave of sellers jumping back in. So what happens when these two forces meet? Are we about to see a surprisingly busy spring? Well, here's the theory for how this could actually heat things up. The cycle is pretty straightforward. First, sellers put their homes back on the market. Then once they sell, most of them need to buy a new home for themselves. This creates a whole new wave of buyers, potentially fueling a big boost in spring sales. And we're already seeing some early signs that this could be happening. The data shows that pending sales, those are homes under contract but not yet closed,
were up around 8% in late January compared to last year. Now, that's a positive signal.
But, and this is a really, really important but, there's a major catch here. That 8% jump, it's being compared to a period last year when the market was basically frozen solid thanks to mortgage rates being near 7%. So yeah, it's an improvement, but let's be honest, the bar was pretty much on the floor.
This is the moment where even the experts are kind of holding their breath. Mike Simonson, the same economist who spotted those returning sellers, basically admits that things are uncertain. He's expecting these pending sales numbers to keep going up, but he says if they don't, well then that's the market sending a very different and much colder signal. Which brings us to the final, really fascinating question. With these empowered buyers meeting a fresh wave of sellers, are we witnessing the start of a surprise spring rebound? Or is this just a false spring, a brief little thaw before the market gets cold all over again? All eyes are on the next few months because they are going to tell the real story.